Hi, everyone, I'm Dan Abrams, and this is Court Case.
Ready to take your place?
I hope you die first as well.
Meet Timothy DiMatteo.
Oh boy.
The 34-year-old Florida rock musician was charged with petty theft and damage to property for allegedly trying to steal nutritional supplements from a store and then damaging items after he was caught. As Judge John Hurley kicks off the bond hearing,
Court finds probable cause.
he makes a request that will come back to haunt him.
Turn on the mic, please, somebody. What are they...
Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
You know me, don't you?
No?
Before Judge Hurley can get another word in, this rocker breaks into a solo.
I was going to pick up my strips. They said it was a 45-minute wait for some reason. I'm walking around shopping. I go to the bathroom to take a piss and wash my hands, and the manager's in there waiting for me, thinking I'm shoplifting. I wasn't shoplifting anything.
No?
No. My first, second, third, fourth, 13th, 14th Amendment rights have been violated.
But it turns out this isn't the first time the defendant's been charged for stealing.
Your Honor, if I may, two things worth noting. Mr. DiMatteo was arrested September 14th of this year at Mexican restaurant, where allegedly he ran up a bill for $256.26. He refused to leave or pay for his tab. Additionally, on September 29th of this year, he was placed on 18 months probation for grand theft.
As Judge Hurley checks on the details of the pending charges, DiMatteo can be seen growing more animated with the public defender. And when his mic gets turned back on,
Your Honor, sidebar.
yes, he raises his hand and asks the judge for a sidebar.
Your Honor, sidebar.
Wait, no,
Your Honor.
Stop. It's not your turn.
After being muted once again, DiMatteo decides to drum up some more attention.
Oh boy.
As the performance continues,
Mr. Miller?
Public Defender Dale Miller hangs his head and makes the executive decision not to unmute the defendant.
Mr. Miller?
I think he's trying to give him an opportunity to calm down, Judge.
Ultimately, the courtroom concert is cut.
Please sit down.
Your Honor.
I'm not having too much time. Sit down.
Judge,
DiMatteo later pled guilty to the petty theft charge and was ordered to pay $293. The damage to property charge was dropped.
Your Honor, sidebar. You're a crook. And you have been one for a long time.
Next, we head to San Antonio, Texas, for the sentencing of Andrea Vasquez. The 44-year-old mother, a convicted felon with a history of theft, has pled guilty to 4 counts of felony theft. A year earlier, Vasquez set up a charity event to raise money for the San Antonio chapter of There For You, the national charity that provides wigs to cancer patients. She did it through a foundation her teenage daughter created called Fashion for Cancer. The event raised $20,000. The only problem was, despite being presented an oversized $20,000 check at the event, the charity never received the donation from Vasquez. And Vasquez pocketed the money. She was arrested after she failed to pay the vendors who helped organize the event. Now she's about to learn her sentence from Judge Joey Contreras. Per the plea agreement, the max she can receive is 8 years in prison. First, the judge hears from the vendors, who have yet to receive payment.
2 months after, and there was still no money.
Next, it was Vasquez who took the stand. She's hoping to convince the judge she was just trying to do the right thing, but got in over her head.
I have no idea or anything of the fashion business at all. I don't. I was mom. We got stuck paying for liquor for these VIPs and people handing out more tickets. It was just total chaos.
Vasquez also claimed it was really her teenage daughter who was in charge of the foundation, though no charges were ever filed against her. After hearing the testimony, it was time for the judge to decide whether she deserves sympathy or not.
Miss Vasquez, you're a crook. And you have been one for a long time. Your record bears that out. Now I know how these people got swindled by you. You're a good talker. Very good talker. And you know what the most offensive, disgusting part of this whole proceeding is? Is that your responses, if I did anything wrong, it was not watching what my daughter did. A woman who will steal from victims and do the bus and say the only thing I did wrong was not stopping my daughter from being a crook deserves way more than 8 years. And I really profoundly regret that I can only give you 8 years on each one.
And with that, the judge gave her the max.
It'll be the judgment of this court in each cause you will serve an 8-year sentence. Is there anything else? Okay, we're recessed.
In addition to the 8 years, Vasquez was ordered to pay restitution to the vendors to whom she owed money.
You committed the worst possible crime.
Next, we're in Orlando, Florida, for the trial of Scott Nelson. The 55-year-old was charged with first-degree murder after he admitted to kidnapping and killing 56-year-old Jennifer Fulford. During trial, Nelson took the witness stand.
Give me a seat.
And delivered shocking testimony with unsettling candor.
Who killed Jennifer Fulford?
I did.
4 months earlier, Nelson, a career criminal who'd spent more than a decade of his life in prison, was released on parole after doing time for armed robbery. He claimed he was getting his life back together until he lost his job, his place to stay, and ultimately his will to live within the bounds of society.
You kick a dog enough times, they tend to bite back. And really, they just don't care anymore.
The prosecution argued Nelson was further tormented by the wealth that surrounded him in upscale Winter Park, Florida.
These were the people who had nice homes that you couldn't live in, never would live in.
I was hungry. I was starving to death on the streets of Winter Park. People don't give a damn about nobody in this world. They don't care.
Nelson admitted he began plotting a home invasion with the hope of stealing enough cash to run away and escape his parole. He can be seen in this security camera footage purchasing supplies.
You bought zip ties.
Yes, I did.
You bought duct tape.
That'd be correct.
You bought a knife.
I sure did.
You, at that point, formed a plan to use those items. You knew that somebody was going to pay for how you've been treated.
That is very accurate.
Nelson then coldly explained how he picked a location to hit, an expensive Winter Park home where 56-year-old Jennifer Fulford worked as a nanny.
Your plan was, you're going to force your way in.
No, the doorbell works better. She opened the door and let me in.
But then pressed on the details of what...
Did you take the comforter off the bed so that you could wrap Jennifer Fulford in it because you wanted to conceal her from the outside?
No,
You didn't wrap her in the comforter.
I didn't do that. Maybe she did. Maybe she was cold.
Say that last line again.
I said maybe she was cold. I don't know if she ended up cold.
Nelson's sick humor does not elicit a reaction from the prosecutor, who lets him sit in silence, allowing his words to sink in with the jury. Nelson didn't take anything of value from the home. Instead, Nelson forced Fulford into her car, seen here using her ATM card to withdraw cash before driving roughly 20 miles south of the city. In a secluded area, according to Nelson, he opened the back of the car where Fulford was laying still alive.
Why did you bind her hands behind her back?
I would imagine so that she couldn't leave.
Why did you bind her feet with duct tape?
I imagine so she wouldn't walk away.
And why did you wrap her entire head in the duct tape?
Probably so she couldn't scream.
Off a dirt road in an area thick with vegetation, Nelson stabbed Fulford to death, then left her body.
I never intended to kill that woman. It was not in my heart to do that. It wasn't what I had planned. I didn't want to kill that woman. She never done anything to me. I believe the term is collateral damage.
Surveillance video from the ATM, as well as DNA evidence found in the victim's car, helped seal Nelson's fate. He was found guilty of the first-degree kidnapping and murder of Jennifer Fulford. Facing the death penalty, he again took the stand during the penalty phase of the trial.
How has your mental health been affected by your previous incarceration?
I am a homicidal maniac.
The jury sentenced Scott Nelson to life without parole for the murder of Jennifer Fulford. Next, we're down under for a hearing in Adelaide, Australia. Daniel Nicholson, a 35-year-old father of 4, has been out on bail awaiting trial for weapons charges. Today, he's in court to find out whether Magistrate Sue O'Connor will allow him to remain out on pretrial release.
I'm voting aisle. No, you can stop.
Apparently surprised by the ruling, as an answer, Magistrate O'Connor shuts down the conversation.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Miss, please, miss. Please, miss. I'll show you what please, miss.
Just moments later, perhaps realizing he's about to be locked up, Nicholson decides to bail himself out of the situation. Inside what's known as the dock, Nicholson steps up onto a table and delivers a punch to one officer as he tries to restrain him. After slipping through their fingers, he's able to get one foot on top of the divider and launch himself onto a nearby table, and then into the arms of this officer. With the courtroom descending into chaos, a woman makes a plea on Nicholson's behalf. But as he continues to push his way toward the door, more officers pile on before he can make it there. Daniel Nicholson later pleaded guilty to attempting to escape custody and 2 counts of recklessly causing harm to a prescribed emergency worker. He admitted to being under the influence of crystal meth at the time, saying he was just, quote, freaked out. Nicholson was sentenced to 21 months in prison with parole eligibility after 1 year. As for the original weapons charge, he pled guilty and was ordered to pay a $320 fine.
What's going on, Pat? I just want to stay up something free.
Next, we go to Kalamazoo, Michigan, for the trial and sentencing of Charles Pickett. The 52-year-old was charged with 5 counts of second-degree murder and 4 counts of operating a vehicle while causing serious injury. 2 years earlier, Pickett struck a group of cyclists out for an evening ride with his pickup truck, killing 5 of them, wounding 4. Earlier in the day, Pickett had taken several painkillers, as well as methamphetamine, and was allegedly driving nearly 60 miles per hour in a 35-mile zone at the time of the crash. When paramedics arrived at the scene, the uninjured Pickett was incoherent. Pickett pleaded not guilty, claiming he didn't know the drugs he ingested would cause him to drive so erratically. The prosecution argued otherwise, those who survived. This is Jennifer Johnson, organizer of the bike ride who was maimed, describing the scary moment after the crash where she came to.
Waking up, opening my eyes, and seeing my left arm tightly gripping a fence, and I just remember seeing burrs covering my gloves and my riding jersey. So then I started scanning my body just to assess what was going on. And I struggled when I couldn't find my right leg. So I kept looking, and I found it very acutely over my right shoulder.
It took the jury 4 hours to return with a verdict. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the prosecution asked for the maximum sentence, life in prison.
I submit to you that Mr. Pickett should never, ever have the opportunity to get out and get behind the wheel of a car again. And the only way to ensure that is to make sure that the numbers that he's going to go away for and serve in prison don't allow for even that possibility.
Next, it was Pickett's turn to address the court, as well as the victims and their families.
There's nothing I can do to ever take it back. I'll live with this for the rest of my life. I would give my life for the people that murdered and or killed and maimed and everything else, and I just want to stay free. That's it.
When Pickett was finished, the judge announced his sentence. 38 to 73 years in a state prison. Pickett's earliest release date is June 2056, and he would be 90 years old. Next, we go inside the Fall River, Massachusetts District Courthouse for an arraignment hearing. The defendant proclaiming her innocence is 38-year-old Olivia Lara. After an investigation by local police and Homeland Security, she was charged with 3 counts of human trafficking and deriving support from prostitution for allegedly providing underage sex trafficking victims to patrons of a local bar. Investigators claim Lara arranged sex for customers, then drove 3 girls aged 15 to 17 to various locations to meet with the men and perform sexual acts in exchange for money. At her arraignment, after the judge sets cash bond at $100,000, Lara first becomes emotional. As Lara is taken into custody, she pauses for a moment before slamming her head against a plexiglass divider. It appears the deputy's first instinct is to grab the back of the defendant's head so she's unable to harm herself. The deputy struggles to gain control, but finally gets Lara to the floor as another officer helps. Officials order everyone out of the courtroom, including distraught members of the defendant's family. Olivia Lara would later plead guilty to the lesser charge of deriving support from prostitution. She was sentenced to 3 years in jail. That's it for this edition of Court Cam. I'm Dan Abrams. Thanks for watching.